Come on, everyone. Come on, let's get a bit of... Come on. Let's get... No dancing.
Have we started?
Yeah, we started. Come on, let's all get our hands up, everyone, for Christmas. Come on. That's it, Dale. Welcome, everyone, to this CPD accredited, believe it or not, Christmas Hangout, Vielle, and we've got a star-studded guest list today. Right, I'm turning the sound off now. We'll just have it gently in the background. Remember, CPD accredited. Give us a call if you want a CPD certificate at the end of it, and we will be on your podcast later, so you can download it and sign up onto our YouTube channel so you can receive all our YouTube videos. Right, let's have a look. Who do we have today? Well, we have me, Rudolph, singer. We have Dale Henry.
Merry Christmas.
Oh, great. Graham up in Scotland.
Ho, ho, ho.
Love it, love it, love it. We have Brian, Proplend. Brian. We have Paul.
Hello, hello.
We have James, Leverton.
Hi,
and we have the car man himself, Bill. Right, here we go. Right, all light-hearted. Right, all light-hearted. Christmassy, all light-hearted. Right, so we're going to... I thought what we'd first of all do is we'd tell you how brilliant Vielle is. We've had not a bad few weeks. We've done some deals, and to show you how the market is working and operating, we're going to tell you about some of our deals. So, Dale, I'm going to hand over to you. And our man in Scotland, Graham, also, we've got a few Scottish deals here. So I'll let you two quickly run through them.
Okay, thanks, Neil. Yeah, as Neil said, we've had a busy few weeks on the sales side. So just briefly to run through what we've been up to. This is something we've sold just this week, which is a retail investment in Leeds city centre, ground floor lockup, let to Boots, which we sold within about a week. Quoted 1.586% and sold it to some private investors at 1.6%, so sub 6%. So that was a good result. This is one of... Yeah, go to Khan. So only yesterday, we sold this little multi-let industrial investment. We sold it by way of an online click-to-purchase artificial intelligence auction yesterday. Guided £400,000, and we ended up selling it for, which was 7%, and we ended up selling it for 475, 5.8%. So that was a fantastic result. Both ourselves and the client delighted with that one. What else? We've also Stoke Newington, Neil. We sold this retail investment in residential development in London, which we had a lot of interest in, ended up going to competitive bids, and we achieved well over the asking price on that. And then a couple of sales up in Scotland. Graham, do you want to have a quick run through of those?
Yep, I think Neil's showing the Thing of Beauty, which is the soft play area in Airdrie, which, believe it or not, we had 4 or 5 bids in that, sold ahead of the asking price in 4 weeks. I think it appealed to people because it wasn't necessarily retail and they wanted something alternative. And we sold a big retail block in King Street, Kilmarnock, 3 retail units, all on rebased rents, regeared leases. And again, we sold that within 3 to 4 weeks of marketing at 885,000, which was an attractive yield to the investor of about 10%. So yeah, we've had a few sales and plenty more to come in January.
Okay, Dale, we've got some sales.
Yeah, anyone still looking to buy this side of Christmas? We've got plenty of opportunities still. As you can see, we've got, just quickly running through, we've got a couple of London opportunities. We've got one in Enfield, which is a retail and resi development opportunity offering with vacant possession. We've got some interest in that at the moment, but that's still available. We've got another one in Goodmays, which is a retail and residential investment opportunity. which we're offering at 400,000. We've got a very well let retail investment in Worcester, which we've just recently brought to the market, let to Argos, who are fully owned by Sainsbury's, so highly secure income. That's showing 9%. We've got a children's day nursery investment in Watford, right next to, as you can see, a major new residential development site. That's, again, very secure income, about 12 years unexpired. We've got some retail, warehousing and supermarket income up in Peterlee, let to Lidl and Pound Stretcher. And actually Pound Stretcher today only just announced that they're doubling the size of their estate to about 800 stores. So they're sort of bucking the trend at the moment. And finally, we've got a very nice restaurant investment in Beaconsfield, lovely part of the world, long income, about 18 years unexpired, and a multi-let office in Colchester, which is part let to the government, 700, quoting 730,000, which is about 8%. And we've got, as Graham said, we've got a number of new sales coming up, which we're working on for January. And we'll have some, maybe even this side of Christmas, some retail down in Portsmouth. We've got some shops up in Perth, in Paisley. We've got a shop coming up in Windsor. So plenty still coming through.
Thank you, Dale. Thank you very much. Okay. News. Let's talk about the news. Everybody can, if anybody's got any news to chuck over our guests our way, just shout. I would like to talk about eMove, who unfortunately are no longer. And at the same time, it's worth actually having a look at the Purple Bricks share price. Not the Purple Bricks are eMove, but this is the Purple Bricks share price, which has gone this year from nearly £5 all the way down to today it's 165. So I think it's quite a shame, really. Anyway, I think that the eMove failure is a great shame, actually. I think it's a tremendous shame. And what's amazed me is how much abuse eMove received online. I mean, I was looking at one of the portals, and I think it was Estate Agents Today, and agents are so happy that they've failed, which I think is a great shame, because at least they tried something new and they pushed the boat out. I think there are reasons for that they may have failed, but I think it's a great shame, actually. I don't know if anyone else has got any comments on that. Does anyone else? And we actually had Russell on as a guest this year, or maybe it was at the end of last year. So I think it was a great shame, really. Did you guys all see that? Did you all see that eMove had gone?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It's a shame, isn't it? Don't you think so? I thought it was really.
Absolutely.
At least they tried something. I don't know what's going to happen to the whole sector. Anyway, I'm pleased it sparked a great deal of debate amongst us. That's the key. That's the key. All right. Okay. So that didn't get very far. Right. I'm going to ask all our guests the highs and lows of the year. All right, and then I can do mine later. Right. So let's start with Brian. Brian, what's your highs and lows of the year? Oh, we can't hear you. We can't hear you. Why can't we hear Brian? Wait a minute. Why can't we hear Brian? Why can't we hear Brian? Brian, we can't hear you. Your headset's not working. Can you hear us? Well, we can't hear Brian. All right, we're going to come back to you in a moment once you've sorted yourself out. Graham. Okay. Oh, you're back. You're back.
Yeah, you got me now?
Yeah, we got you. Right.
Okay.
Come on, highs and lows of the year, Brian.
So I think lows of the year have got to be a few. I think the demise of the high street's been sort of pretty bad this year. I'm sure that everyone will agree with that. And I don't think there was enough done in the budget to try and turn that around. I think GDPR has been a real pain in the neck this year. Everyone's got through it, but it's been a bit of a sort of not a great thing to have to go through. And highs of the year, lots and lots of data out there that we can start to use, becoming easier to get hold of and able to work with it. And I think one of the really interesting things was watching Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook appear in front of Congress, which sort of accentuated the divide between the people who understand tech and the people who do not understand tech at all. Right, and that was quite an interesting 3 or 4 hours that he spent in front of the TV and the cameras and all of Congress.
I can't say I saw it actually. What do you mean by that? What did he? You think he did well or badly?
No, I think he did well, but I think that there was a lot of, I mean, the age of the Congress, the people in Congress who were quizzing him were trying to pretend they knew a lot about tech and knew what the right words to use were, and they'd obviously just been given questions, and some of them just failed miserably, and it showed really badly on them when they had a really good chance to have a proper quiz of him in front of the world, and they failed miserably.
I watched all, like, majority of that, and I thought it was incredibly interesting. I think some of the questions were really, very telling. The questions around what Facebook's revenue model was and things like that, and I don't know. I just think there was some really basic questions being asked there, and it was a little bit embarrassing in some respects. And I just think Mark did pretty well under a lot of pressure there. But yeah, very interesting to see that. And I think we'll see more and more of that going forward, where you have, key people who are at the top of data businesses put under scrutiny in these situations, because the public are demanding that, really. They're doing a lot with their data, and I think they want answers around that. But I think those asking the questions probably need to be a little bit better prepared in some regards.
Interesting. Yeah, I think that maybe it highlights the fact that a lot of people who are in business don't actually understand tech in a way, and they're trying to get their heads through it. I mean, we've seen that a lot.
I think it was more people who are in government don't understand a lot about tech, and they're the ones who are making the decisions and putting rules and regulations in place and just not fully understanding what's going on.
Well, actually, I've seen that in interpreting Scottish law to do online property exchanges. Whoever wrote the rule book for Scotland doesn't really understand the technology, because they've made it so incredibly difficult that it's going to take years before they're able to do it like in England. So there you go. So which is much to Graham and Doug's.
Well, we always like to be different, that. So
yeah. The high street. It's do you know? I told him today actually, which is really a real shame. So I was at a meeting earlier, and a guy said to me he liked my jacket, right, which was very nice of him. So he said, "Where did you buy it?" So I said, "Unfortunately, my local shop just closed. He just shut," which is such a shame, isn't it? Which actually proves the point. I think GDPR myself, actually it was a pain, but it wasn't too much hassle really. In fact, I would say there's we interpreted it slightly different to a lot of people. And I had an email from someone at Knight Frank saying, someone at Knight Frank sent me an email saying, "Can we please add you to our database to receive details?" And I wrote to this lady, I said, "You actually are not allowed to write to me to ask me if I can be added to your database, because you haven't got my permission to write to me in the first place," which is the Honda case, actually, which is actually a well-known legal case. So we did look into it a great deal. Has anyone else had any issues with GDPR? Because everyone tries to mark it, don't they?
Yeah, we have kind of an issue around some of that. So obviously we provide property information and kind of ownership information, this sort of stuff, and kind of that fine line between when you're processing this stuff and creating data sets of property owners and things like that, kind of that line around what you can do and what you can't do does become quite tricky, because we've got lots of tech that we're using to create this stuff, but it's actually really powerful and really helpful trying to get deals unlocked and this sort of stuff. But actually there's that very fine line of what is right and what's not right. And there's kind of the bit around kind of whether it's legitimate business interest and this sort of stuff, and kind of whether you can and can't do these things. Is it truly in that person's interest to do these things? And then those kind of first letters that you send out, I think is really.
I think also there's a great deal of misunderstanding. I mean, I was advised by our lawyers that you actually are able to write to people still if they're a business, but you can't write to them if they're a private individual. So the problem is you can write to, Bill at Automotive, but if it was Bill at Gmail, I'm not allowed to write to him. So the problem arises with lawyers, because lawyers are often personal, but they're under a company email address. They're not actually, because they're self-employed. So I don't know if you guys had. I found that was the advice I had. Okay, High Street GDPR. Okay, who wants to go next? Best and worst things of the year. Who's going next? Oh, I'm going to pick on someone.
I'll go now.
Who's that? Okay, come on,
Bill,
Bill.
can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Right, excellent. I mean, I've got a lot of good things to say, but I mean, let's start with the bad thing. So, I'm definitely going to go with the high street theme, but more towards Amazon not paying enough tax.
Ooh.
So, that engine house of the Chelsea midfield, N'Golo Kante, pays more tax than Amazon do.
Is that right? Is that right?
That doesn't really seem right to me. Neil, what do you think about that?
Well, I don't know who was his name. The goalie, what?
Kante.
N'Golo Kante.
Yeah,
He's the first footballer ever to pay tax. It's amazing.
Is he? Is he? I'm afraid I'm not a football fan, so it wouldn't mean much to me. But yeah, it does sound a bit strange, though. I don't understand how they get away with it. Actually,
the tax should be paid really at the where the goods are sold from in the UK, and they're transported in the UK, but then they're delivered in the UK, but Amazon aren't paying tax. And so when, as it Mike Ashley and many other luminaries in the retail market get up and say the tax system isn't right and is prejudicing the high street, surely, morally, that's got to be right. So I think that's a bad thing. I think that the tax, I mean, I think Amazon is a good thing, but I think that the tax escape is not such a good thing.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
that would be one of my bad things. And the second bad thing is the government's total and utter neglect of the UK motor industry, both from a manufacturing side and that we're going to see a threat of jobs and manufacturing leaving the UK. And we've got to a stage in this country where we are making as many cars, or we were making as many cars as we were in the previous height in the 1970s, and the government have chosen to introduce sort of taxation measures and a complete lack of neglect that's going to throw away 30 years of effort. And I think that's a bad thing.
And can you expand upon that for us? What do you mean? You mean in terms diesel?
Yeah, I think that the misunderstanding about diesel, because whilst we're all after sustainability, diesel and other combustion engines are lowering emissions. So the only answer isn't necessarily electric cars. It is possible that vehicles can be designed that will have very low, or even possibly in time, no emissions. So with a 30% decline in diesel car sales that's happened certainly in 2018 year to date, rises in alternatively fueled vehicles and petrol cars, respectively about 6 and 7%, can't outweigh that 30% decline, and that's impacting significantly on major UK manufacturing plants. And they've raised vehicle excise duty, etc., etc. So that's impacting particularly on jobs at manufacturing plants. And we all read the press about Jaguar Land Rover. Land Rover Discovery is now made either in Slovakia or Slovenia, and there will be question marks about the continuation of Land Rover production in the UK. So I think the government's neglect of that is shameful.
Can't argue with that.
Would you like to hear my good points?
We would like to hear your good points. Let's cheer us up, Bill.
Okay. Well, first of all, now, if you could put up that nice little picture of the Nissan Leaf. This year has seen the launch of the Nissan Leaf, which is probably the world's best electric car, best-selling electric car. This car also has a system called ProPilot, which is a form of autonomous driving, and it has a self-parking facility, and it also has an amazing thing called an e-pedal, which is rather like a Sky Electric's car, which means you can use the accelerator for braking. So it's got regenerative braking. So this is the first of many new vehicles that are going to be introduced into the UK between now and probably 2021.
What's it cost? Do you know what it costs?
It costs about £30,000 if you can get it, but you would have probably possibly a 12-month waiting list to get hold of that vehicle at the moment. So we have seen the launch of the world's leading electric car in 2018.
What do you think? What's the range?
The range of that car is about 180 miles on a full charge.
Wow.
And the expectation is with the new models of electric cars, they will get to 400 miles.
Wow. It's
But
interesting.
we need charging points, Neil, and charging points is a big opportunity for lots of landlords all over the country. So, for example, as an illustration, BP have bought ChargeMaster, and BP across the world have 80,000 petrol filling stations. And their intention will be to put ChargeMaster and fast chargers into all of those petrol filling stations.
Do you think they become dual? They'll be both charging and petrol.
Yes, they will. But I mean, in the UK, we've got around about 10,000 charging points, which is woefully inadequate. So supermarkets and retail parks, as well as petrol filling stations, need to rapidly embrace opportunities to provide vehicle charging.
Interesting. I suppose also there'll be all the add-on developments surrounding it as a result. All right. So that's a good.
Extended customer footfall, extended dwell time as cars are charged. There's all sorts of opportunities from the provision of chargers for real estate. Anyway, my second good one is the other picture, please, Neil. This is the Renault Alpine, which is an iconic. I knew you'd like to have a little joke.
Hold on a minute.
This is on my Christmas list. This is iconic Renault car, new sports car that they've introduced.
Where's it gone? You sent it to me.
I
can't find it. Anyway.
Don't worry. So Renault have reintroduced the Alpine sports car back into the UK. And that's about £65,000. And it's selling very, very well. And it's a beautiful looking car. Shame we can't see the picture of it.
£65,000.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's gone.
For a Renault.
I'll try and find it in a moment. Hold on. I'm going to try and find it.
On a serious note, whilst you're faffing around doing that, from a real estate point of view, I guess the two good things are the Koreans buying loads and loads of office buildings in London, as far as I can work it out from colleagues. And
yeah, can you see that? Can you see that?
Yeah, there you go. Isn't that beautiful?
I thought it was a Porsche, actually.
Oh, that's lovely. Very nice.
Oh, that was a Porsche. That's £65,000.
Yeah, very reasonable at the price.
Well, I tell you what. Who's this? I'll tell you what. If you whoever wins the Christmas quiz today, I'll give them the fare to the showroom to have a look at it. Right. Okay. And what's the best thing that's happened to your business this year? I forgot to ask you, Brian. What's the best thing that's happened to your business this year, Bill?
Well, I think the same answer that any business like ours would give, which is our client. You know, our clients have stayed with us, and we provided the best support we can to our clients, and that's the epicenter of what we all do. So, best thing is our clients.
That's very nice of you. How very schmoozy. Right, who's next? Bill. Actually, I'm going to go back to Brian. Brian, what's the best thing that happened to your business this year?
Best thing that's happened to ours is we saw one of our not our competitor, but someone who's still in the industry, a company called Funding Circle, they IPO'd this year. So I think that's a very good thing. Shows there's a lot of growth within our industry, the chance for other companies to do a similar thing. And there's a lot about the FCA are doing a consultation on regulation in the industry. So that's good, you know, bringing more regulation in, which actually I'm pretty pleased about, and it will do nothing but good for the industry.
Okay, good, great. Right, who's next? I'm going to pick on someone. Paul, come on, Paul. Right, highs and lows, please.
So I was kind of struggling with lows actually. I don't know. We've had kind of a pretty good year, and I'm sort of struggling to work that out. But I kind of perhaps echo. Brian was saying really about the demise of the high street and things like that, and that's kind of a bit of a sad thing, and sort of seeing lots of those closures and things. I think that sort of restructuring of what the high street does and what it looks like, I think, is kind of interesting and will continue to be interesting, I think, going forward. So I was kind of struggling with the worst things really. I think that probably is the kind of the single worst thing that I can think of really. I think the flip side of that is there's lots of good things that are happening. There's lots of kind of really interesting things, kind of, you know, industrial use and stuff like that going completely nuts. I think is really exciting. And first time one of our clients was talking to me about PD rights and conversions of things, and they were talking about retail and industrial. And the first time I'd heard them was converting a retail unit into industrial, which just blew my mind. I couldn't really kind of work out. I was assuming they were going to try and buy industrials, convert them to retail, but the opposite was the case, which I just couldn't believe. Really, it was incredible. Really, so that was really interesting. I think the best bit for us about this year has been the kind of continued release by the government of free data sets. So sort of over the course of the last 18 months, 2 years, they've released more and more things, and we're kind of used to land registry data being relatively free or freely available, and ownership and this sort of stuff. But we've seen things like EPC data and then Ordnance Survey coming on the bandwagon as well, and releasing bits and pieces of that, and kind of more and more of this happening. I think that's a really exciting thing, because I think the property industry is becoming more and more interested in technology, and in sort of becoming more and more realizing the kind of the processes that underlie their businesses, and how technology can kind of help with that. And I think the more that there's data available that kind of gets people on their own journey with kind of understanding what's out there and how we can do these things, I think is really positive, because it means there's more automation going through those businesses, more efficiencies, and kind of the excitement that goes with that, really. So I think for me that's really exciting, and kind of from our own personal point of view, what that's allowed us to do is release another product, which is a free version of our paid for product. So we've now got products out there that people 2 or 3 years ago were paying sort of $3,000 a year for, which are completely free now. And that's purely because the government is providing all this free data, and that then allows businesses like ourselves to provide that to customers. So I think that's really, really exciting, and kind of we've now just hit that 25,000 user mark, which is kind of really exciting for us. So I think that's probably the worst and the best for our business, kind of all wrapped up into one, I think.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. That's good. Bit of positivity. Right, who's next? Who wants to go next? Scotland. Doug?
Scotland. Yeah, no, I've changed my mind on what's bad. A bit like Paul, I was kind of struggling to find bad things, but I've decided Donald Trump is bad. He is bad. Something bizarre popped up in my machine, and it was a White House press conference, and I started to watch it, and 20 minutes later I was still watching it, and it was the most staggering thing to watch, of these journalists asking incredibly pertinent questions of the White House press secretary, and her answer was the same for 20 minutes. It was absolutely staggering, and I just think the guy is an idiot, and he really is tarnishing the office of the President of the United States, and I think he's bad. He's bad for everybody.
He can't be an idiot because he's become president.
Well, he comes across as an idiot, though. I mean, his comment about global warming was absolutely brilliant. They predicted it's going to be one of the worst winters in America for years, and Donald Trump's response was, "Well, that just shows you global warming is a load of rubbish." So, I mean, you can't really rationalize with that kind of stuff.
Are we going to talk politics? Oh, because you want to get
no.
I don't mind.
It's not really politics. It's just more the individual. So he's
right, so he's a baddie. He's a baddie, right? He's a baddie.
Sport's been good. The weather's been good. The weather was great this year.
Is that it?
Well, yeah. I mean,
the weather.
Well, we don't get good weather in Scotland very often, so we rejoiced in a great summer, which is good for all sorts of things. It just increases people's mood and everything else. So it's certainly been a challenging year again in terms of investment, but it's still going. And without mentioning the B word, people still have to keep going. The world is not going to stop in the back of that. So
the B word.
Yeah. But we're not mentioning it, so.
Oh, I think we could mention the B word. I don't mind. If anyone's watching, they're welcome to give us our views on the B word, and I can give you my view on the C word. Right. Right. So you're happy. You've had a good.
Happy.
Good. Yeah. Right. Next guest. Right. Come on, James. What AI? And AI is what it's all about.
It is, yeah. My completely impartial view is AI is exactly what it's all about. Look, no, it's been a very good year for our business. I'm very happy with the progress we've made, particularly in the UK, the US, and actually consolidation in Germany and Europe as well. I would echo sentiment of retail and retail struggling being a very sad thing. I think just on a personal level, I really enjoy going to the high street every now and again, not regularly, but that's a big staple of how we live and how we exist and things like that. And I think it'd be very sad to see that change. That being said, I think the way it will change will be that shops will care more about experience, and experience-driven shopping will be the focus. So I think it'll be an evolution rather than a complete capitulation. So hopefully it won't change too much and shops will get a bit more creative about things. I also think the Amazon tax point is an incredibly interesting one. I think we really need to think carefully, policymakers need to think carefully about how competitive environments are, because consumers are rewarding companies like Amazon for being a monopoly, and you need to intervene there in the market a little bit. And certainly they should pay at least their way with taxes, but it's tough. They've kind of got to a size now where how do you police a company of that size? They've got a bit too big for government, really, almost, sadly. On a positive note, yeah, like I say, just very, very happy with our growing client base. Very interestingly, and to sort of contradict what I said earlier about retail, our tenant and our corporation client base is one of the strongest parts of our business at the moment. So, you know, last year we signed a deal with Sports Direct and a few deals with Sports Direct. We've also signed a couple of deals with some really large retailers this year as well. Those that I can't mention, unfortunately, although I wish I could.
How would Sports Direct use Leverton?
So they own a lot of real estate and property, and they want to manage it more effectively and understand what information they have in their lease documents. And also they're a lot more global business than I first realized when we started engaging with them. So they've got properties all over Europe. So yeah. So just managing those leases more effectively, and they run a lot of their property out of the UK. So understanding languages and things like that. So yeah. And we've got other clients very similar in nature, but like I said, can't mention them, unfortunately, but there should be press releases on that kind of stuff soon, so I can there. So yeah, that client base has been good for us. One final thing to mention, I think, is the landlord side of business has been strong in terms of people like Derwent, London becoming a client of ours, that we've got their sort of full lease portfolio onto our platform, which is cool. But I think this point around seeing customers running small pilots and not necessarily having the right people in place to onboard new technology effectively, I think continues to be a challenge in certain parts of the real estate market. So that's maybe a slight bugbear and a challenge for us still. And I hope that in 2019 people invest and think about this. So yeah.
It's interesting. We'll see what happens. There's a lot. I've seen a huge change in the mentality from lawyers, which must be your biggest. Is that your biggest market?
Absolutely not. They're actually lawyers. Yeah, lawyers these days actually represent a fairly modest amount in terms of revenue, just because end customers and end users, landlords and tenants, can benefit a lot from our platform, and the big managing agents as well are a big client group, the biggest arguably for us. But you're completely right, and actually it's a really good point that lawyers are thinking about things very differently. So one thing that we've seen is traditionally a lawyer, when they look through lease documents and real estate documents, they'll produce a written lease report template, which is basically a regurgitation of the lease with some general comments and annotation to that. And we're seeing lawyers get a bit smarter and consider things more data focused. So instead of giving their client that, maybe they can give them either access to Leverton or access to more of a table of data rather than just a written report, so it's easier for the client to digest.
Okay, and I just want to remind everyone that if anybody wants an introduction to any of our guests, Brian, Paul, Graham, James, about what they're offering in terms of Bill, in terms of advice, just let me know, and we'll be delighted to put you in touch. Right, so that's good. That's positive. Right, we've got Dale and we've got Doug. Who wants to go first?
Yeah, I'll go. One of my worst things of this year, well, again, it's sort of the high street theme, but specifically as an investment agent that sells a lot of high street properties, I would say specifically the complete abuse of CVAs by retailers this year. It's just been a constant stream throughout the year of retailers announcing CVAs, whether it's Maplin, New Look, Toys R Us, Original Factory Shop. The list is endless. And whilst I'm sure there are some that genuinely have been in distress, I think a lot of retailers have been using CVAs as a more of a strategic option rather than what they were designed for originally, which was sort of a last resort. So I think the government needs to take some action against these retailers who are just using CVAs as a loophole to break their lease commitments.
The problem is no one has any sympathy for landlords. It's not a vote winner.
I do.
It's probably a massive vote winner to tax Amazon, but I bet it's not a big vote winner to help landlords with their income.
Especially the high street struggling as well. I suspect that trying to limit what the retailers can do isn't going to win votes, is it? It's going to trying to help them get through this process. Probably more going to win more votes than the other way around, unfortunately.
And my best thing of 2018, I'd say, is undoubtedly Arsenal's drubbing of Spurs last weekend. 4-2, easy. Walk in the park.
Mazel tov. Right, Doug, are you on? Oh, we can't hear you. We can't hear you
now. Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Can you hear me now? Yes, good.
Yes,
good.
yes.
Sorry, my connection's not been great today. But yes, good and bad for 2018. Well, good was obviously teaming up with Graham in the middle of the year to join up with Singer Vielle Scotland, and I've really enjoyed working with Graham for the last few months.
I meant to say that as well. That was part of my good as well. Sorry.
You're out, Graham. You're out. Yeah.
But it's been great to work with it, and more importantly, to understand from the inside how the brand works and how the technology works, and how strong the platform is in the marketplace. So that's been great. I'm really looking forward to pushing that forward in 2019. On the bad side, it's on the football theme, I'm afraid. My team are St Mirren, and last year they were promoted to the Scottish Premiership. But the bad news is they have really almost failed to win any more than one match since they've been promoted. So they're now sitting second bottom of the Scottish Premier League. So I'm hoping for better things in 2019.
Okay. Well, what can I say? What can I say? Right. Well, if that's the worst thing that's happened, not so terrible. Not so terrible. Okay, shall I go? Do you want to hear my best and worst? Yes? Yeah, is that a yes?
Yeah.
Yes from the audience.
Of course.
Please now.
Okay, right. The worst thing that's happened this year, in my opinion, is the government's extension of the Help to Buy scheme. I think the Help to Buy scheme is the worst thing ever for overinflating the housing market by making a false level. In fact, I think it's put money in the pockets of developers which we're basically funding as the taxpayer. I don't know if do you have the Help to Buy in Scotland? You got the Help to Buy in Scotland? I mean,
yes, we do. Yes,
I don't know if anybody.
We do.
I don't know if everybody realizes how it works. What happens is this: is that you go and buy a flat in London for £500,000, get a mortgage of 300, you've saved up 50 grand, you borrow off the government 150, so it's interest free for 5 years, and then in 5 years, I think it's 5 years, and after 5 years, you've either sold your property or you start paying back the government. So you actually your costs go up. In theory, I suppose you're earning more money, so therefore you can pay more of a mortgage. The problem, though, is that it's only on the first sale of a property. So when that person who's bought their flat for £500,000 in London, which is not a lot in London, decides they want to sell it to move up, the next person has got to find either they can't get a mortgage more than, say, 300. Instead of having a £50,000 deposit, they've got to find £200,000 deposit. Or alternatively, they go down the road, buy another brand new property, which is on the Help to Buy scheme, which they can buy for £500,000 with 50 grand deposit. The result is the person who's bought the first property is locked. They can't get out. They're stuck. Or they sell. They sell, but the next property they buy is not going to be £500,000. It's going to be 350. I think it's the most terrible scheme. I think it's going to come out as a scandal. I think it's the worst thing. I don't know if anyone agrees with me, but I think it's a complete disaster. No.
I'd like to offer some opinion on this. I'm just trying to think.
I think it's terrible.
I mean, in principle, getting young people in the housing market in areas that are very expensive, I think obviously that is a positive thing. I think your point about sort of locking them in when they're trying to sell it out the other side is an interesting one. As far as I'm aware, in terms of deposit, I think around 10, maybe a little bit more, 20% is reasonable in London. I don't know. I haven't bought a house yet, but it's something that we'll consider. I know you have quite a lot of restrictions around like the value of the property and things like that.
I think it's up to 500,000 or 600,000. I can't remember.
I think it's a little bit less than that. I think it's near 450, but
is it? But the problem is the point is that all it's doing, if you think about it, it's overinflating the market. When governments get involved in overinflating markets, it always leads to problems. So that's it's my view. That's my view.
That is, it kind of does encourage developers to get the schemes out the ground, doesn't it? I guess. So if we've got kind of missions that are not being built, then actually having that stronger housing market and those kind of first-time buyers that can then get into the marketplace, it sort of helps free that up. Obviously, it's a short-term fix, and that kind of, well, how do I dispose of this property once I bought it, becomes a challenge, obviously. But I suppose it does get you to that short-term issue. If we've got permissions sat around, can we get them built? Can we get them out the ground? I guess that having that marketplace where younger generations or kind of the first-time buyers can get onto that. I think.
Or you could take the view. That actually, it means that they pay too much for the land.
Probably, yeah.
And therefore, they're going to they should actually basically they're going to take a loss on the land and build out at the price the market can afford to pay.
Yeah, most developers don't want to do that though. So if I pay something for a piece of land, I don't want to kind of then take a loss on it.
No, but they might have to. That's anyway. So that's my view. Anyway, I think that was a terrible thing the government did. Right, the best thing.
Neil, can I ask a question there? Did you ask the CEO of Persimmon what he thought about?
Interesting point. That
the right to buy.
Well, we basically helped pay his bonus.
He was quite in favour of it.
Yeah, I bet he was. What did he get? 100 million? Was it? What was it?
70 odd, I think. Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't bad, was it? Wasn't bad. Okay, so that was my worst
bad
thing.
for everybody, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I know. Oh well, yes. Okay.
I think the other thing, just to add something onto this, actually, I think it's probably an interesting topic without getting too economicsy, but obviously the interest rate environment's changing as well. So I think if you think about, I'm 26, if you think about the generation of around my age and they're looking to buy property, they've probably never seen a high interest rate environment, or they certainly won't remember one. So I think people will go into buying property without really considering, the actual repayments. If the interest rates go to like 5-6%, say, or something crazy like that, I don't think it's going to happen in the near term. But I don't think people think about that too much. Like, what happens if the interest rates go up and I actually maybe can't pay my mortgage anymore?
Yeah, that could lead into the B word debate. Actually, we might come back to that in a moment. Okay. Right. Shall I talk about good things? I'd like to talk about some good things that have happened this year. So the thing that I think was really good was this. Where is it? Here we go. The government issued a have you got that? Right. The government issued a consultation about how to sign documentations electronically, and that was a consultation which opened on the 21st of August. We actually got involved in that because of what we do with our online signatures. And in fact, I went in and met the Law Commission, who were absolutely delightful. And they were looking at, does the law need to be changed in order to allow for the electronic execution of a document? And does the law need to be changed in order to allow a deed to be signed online? And their preliminary conclusion is the law does not need to be changed in relation to electronic signing, and of course we've been doing that with our collective purchase system. Deeds, they are proposing something which I don't think is workable, but the point is actually a great step forward, I think, for everyone. So that, I think, is a great thing in terms of business. In terms of the other thing that I think is one of the best things of this year is, without doubt, Faye Tozer dancing last week in Strictly Come Dancing, which was it brought a tear to my eye. Does everybody watch Strictly?
I missed it, Neil, unfortunately.
Oh, come on. You've got to go onto YouTube. It's the best thing ever. I just got 4 10s. Got 4 10s. Anyway, so I thought that was best for me. I can't stop watching it enough. Right, and in terms of business, the best thing that happened to us business-wise was this. I'm going to share my screen again. The best thing was this. This was the first AI auction concluded worldwide, and it was using the click-to-purchase system. And in fact, what was interesting is this was concluded by an agency in Dublin who sold a house, and this was a few months ago. And I'll just let it run through so people who aren't familiar can see how it works. Basically, what we did is we put a bot behind our auction room. Our auction room emulates the traditional ballroom experience, so you bid in real time, and you know, you can say, so the auctioneer is saying, are you sure, are you any more bids, etc. And we watched this auction, and I think it went for 345,000 euros against a reserve of 250, and the feedback was great. The thing about the auction is that because it's electronic, it's a complete audit trail. It gets recorded in blockchain. There's digital signatures, even though you don't need a signature in an auction, but you've got that audit trail. And it worked really well. So I thought that was a great thing for us as a business, or a side business, so to speak. And I was really quite proud of that. And in fact, Dale yesterday, as he mentioned, concluded an auction which was a property we were selling in Calm, and that went by an AI auction. That was the first commercial auction in the UK. Or in England. And Graham and Doug, you'll be pleased to know I'm busy working on being able to give it to you in Scotland. So I would suspect by mid-January you'll be doing auctions in Scotland. So that is the highs and lows of the year. Right now, should we have predictions for the year? Who wants to start on the predictions? Right, let's start again. Brian, what is your prediction for the year?
So prediction for the year is we've got the Rugby World Cup coming up in Japan. I'm pretty confident Scotland are going to make it out of the heats, the first rounds, and hopefully make it maybe to the semi-finals. That would be a very nice prediction. Second one, a little bit more off the wall, is Apple is currently sitting on about $250 billion worth of cash. They are pretty keen to try and get closer to their clients, and I think they've probably got their eye on another company that is very similar to them in the fact that they are heavily engineering based and heavily design based, and I'd expect at some point in 2019 to see some sort of financial tie-up between Apple and Tesla.
Really? Oh, that's a cool. I'm going to write that one down. I'm going to come back to that next year. Tesla, that's a good one. Okay. Let's go in order. It's easy. Dale, what do you think?
My prediction, well, on a property theme, my prediction is just really co-working, and I think co-working in general will just continue to transform the office and the occupational market throughout. So that's my prediction, that you're going to see well, we're already seeing it this year, but I think that would just continue at a pace. So that's right. my property prediction.
Doug?
I'm hoping for stability. Stability is what we've all been missing for the last 3 to 6 months, and whatever happens next week, we will at least know, hopefully, some form of direction of travel, and that will take that issue hopefully off the table. And a consequence of that, one would hope, would be in Scotland, the independence issue may also come off the table. If that happens, I think we can look forward to a more fluid market than we've seen for the last 6 to 12 months, and that's what's in my letter to Santa. Can't hear me, can you? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, Neil's just forgotten to unmute.
Sorry, here I am. Come on, Graham. What's the Scottish for Santa?
Santa.
Oh, okay. Come on, what's your prediction?
Oh,
Graham?
my prediction. All right. Okay, my
Yeah,
prediction.
sorry, Doug. I did
Okay.
hear you. We did hear you. It's my fault.
Yeah.
Come on, Graham.
Oh, me? Sorry. Right. Okay. Well, in a similar vein to Brian, I predict that Scotland are going to go to Twickenham on March the 17th this year, or 2019, and they're going to beat England for the first time in 36 years.
That's never going to happen.
And win the Grand Slam, and I'm going to be there. So I'm very much looking forward to that. I think on the property side, I think the high street will continue to struggle, unfortunately. But echoing what Doug says, I just hope we get a bit of stability and things will start to motor.
Okay, James.
My prediction is relating to property is that we're going to see more technology companies or technology-backed businesses featuring more predominantly on the high street. So I'm sure you probably read about Amazon buying Whole Foods, which is obviously a very US-centric brand. We do have examples of it in London and other places in the UK, I think. But I think you'll see it's all about getting online purchased goods to clients or to customers quicker. So I think you might see an interesting dynamic where you see someone like Amazon or another similar big data-driven business or technology business buying some sort of high street chain or brand just so they can get to market quickly and benefit from that. So I don't think it's all bad news from retail's perspective, but I think we'll see some consolidation. And obviously from traditional players as well. I just think retailers will continue to consolidate, and we'll see more sort of Sports Direct buying House of Fraser, that kind of scenario. So yeah.
I hope you're wrong about retail, everyone. I'm not as pessimistic as most people seem to be. But anyway, on that side, Paul, what's your prediction?
So my prediction is kind of about adoption of technology in the property industry. I think what we're seeing is that sort of technology focus, the technology part of this kind of prop tech thing. I think it's getting better. I think it's getting better people into it. I think it's getting continued investment. I think it's becoming clearer in its kind of take to market strategies, its kind of value proposition, so that there's kind of this issue at the moment, I believe, in a lot of technology companies out there trying to sell stuff to people. And I think some of that stuff is quite hard to get your head around. And sometimes it's quite hard to work out, well, if I'm a property investor, how do I use AI? How does that kind of work? And I think those take to market strategies, those technology companies are going to get better and simpler and easier to understand. And therefore that adoption of the technology within the property sector, not just about Radius, it's not just about CoStar. I think there's going to be, it's because it's going to be much clearer, much better people, much more investment into that sector. I think that adoption is going to be a lot easier as a kind of general thing. I think we've sort of seen prop tech as being a little thing that sat on the side that is now becoming very sort of very much forefront of people's minds, I believe. And I think as that sector improves, I think that will become easier to adopt. I think that's when you'll see much better traction.
James and I were at a conference. Was it last week, James? Or was it last week or the week before? Where
yeah, a couple of weeks ago, I think.
Yeah, where Professor Andy Boreham showed this graph of the prop tech adoption, and it sort of goes up. You have all this hype, and then it comes down when people realize actually it's not what it used to be, was expected, and then it sort of starts coming up again. I can't remember where he thought we were on that graph. We'd certainly see, I think we passed this massive peak.
I think it was on the way down, basically.
And then it'll go down, and then people start realizing actually it's there to help. So it'd be interesting what happens actually. Bill, what's your prediction?
Well, I've got a few. I think 2019 is going to be the moving year in mobility technology, so endorse the technology views. Volkswagen Group have committed 40 billion to developing autonomous cars, electric cars, and mobility services. So that's going to start to have an impact. The iPhone is the center of that. Many of us have iPhones. They're expanding the range of services that they can offer as far as mobility services. So I think that companies like Uber, Lyft, and Get are going to be the people providing the services. I think that means there are going to be less cars parked and more cars moving. So essentially there will be more cars on the road, and that will have impact across every real estate function and asset.
Okay, thank you very much. Right, last prediction is mine. Okay, so my prediction is this. I predict that one of the large residential house builders will go bust. That's what I think. That's cheery, isn't it? But I think it's highly likely, actually, because I think they are. I think the market has. If the reports are all saying the housing market is down, it's a lot worse than that. So that's what I think. So I wouldn't rush to buy a house if I were you, James. That's my prediction. So that's that. Now we've got our Christmas quiz coming up now, but I'm very quickly gonna, as Graham brought up politics, and I'm gonna mention the Brexit word. With a bit of luck, I'm gonna say that Theresa May is gonna get her agreement through Parliament next week, and that's the end of it. And I think she will. So I'm
Here.
I would bet on that. I don't think it's gonna. I think it's all a lot of hot air. So that's what I think is going on. Right? Should we have a Christmas quiz? Who wants a Christmas quiz?
I do.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Listen, it's fingers on buttons. All right. Now what I've done is I've got 3 categories, and I've got a question very much relating to our guests. So in each section, I've got a question relating to finance. I then got a question relating to maps. I've got a question relating to artificial intelligence, and I've got a question relating to cars. So you should each actually have an advantage in your particular field. All right.
It's like a question of sport, home and away.
Actually, I should have given you a joker, shouldn't I? I should have given you a joker. Right. So it's the first one to shout out, and no one at Vielle knows these questions. So you're welcome to join in, the 3 of you, except me. Of course, I know the answers. Right. So the first one, fingers on buzzers, because this is not really CPD. This is just a bit of Christmas fun, right? Fingers on buzzers on the lending theme. Which banker famously said, "Greed is good"?
Gordon Gekko.
Yes, Bill. Absolutely, he's good. He's good. Look, Gordon Gekko, and there he is. There he is. So that's 1 point to Bill. There he is. Look at him. Didn't he look good? Did he look good? Huh? Right. That's okay. Excellent. So that's 1 to Bill. Next one. Right. This is on the theme of maps. Okay, and I'm going to share I'm going to share a screen here. I feel like. There we go. Share a screen. Okay, theme of maps. All right, this is going to be a good one. Right, Indiana Jones was famous for using maps to find his treasure. What was his first name?
Indy.
No.
Indiana.
No. Anyone?
Eric.
No. Actually, Dale, you should actually know.
Harrison.
Henry.
Yes, Henry. Actually, Dr. Henry Walton. Dr. Henry Walton, 1 to Dale. That's a good one, wasn't it? That was a good one.
Well done, Dale.
Well done, Dale. Very good. Okay, the next one. It's another movie question. It's all the movies. Which AI machine was famous for hunting humans?
Predator.
No.
Terminator.
Yes. Yes. Arnie. And there he is. Arnie again. Arnie, my hero. There he is. Look at this. This is so far 3.31s. And the last one, actually, my favorite question of the day, actually. Let's see who can get this. James, I'm going to let you off because you probably won't get this one, to be fair to you. Which 1973 comedy movie shows driverless cars set in the future?
That's the future.
Which 1973? It was a comedy.
Herbie.
Nope. 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 Set in the future.
The Jetsons or something.
You can't get it, can you? No one's got it, have they? No one's got it. No one's got it. Okay.
Give us a clue.
I will give you a clue. It was a Woody Allen film.
Oh.
Come on.
The Sleeper.
Yes.
Well.
Hold on. You just looked that up.
I haven't looked that up.
You looked that up, didn't you?
Like the
No,
one
I got our AI engine to
You
tell
just
me the
looked,
answer.
I'm sorry, I'm not giving you a point for that. That was cheating. You definitely looked that up, didn't you?
I didn't look it up. Someone sent me the answer. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm giving you -1 for that.
Oh.
-1. Right. Let's move on.
we have to have a tie break.
Well, we haven't finished yet. We've got a long way to go yet. Look, I wanted to show everyone this. I wanted to show. Hold on. I wanted to show everybody this picture. Hold on. Where is it? Look. Has anyone? Look, Woody Allen was one of the funniest movies. In fact, actually, not only was this film the first movie to predict driverless cars, but it also predicted artificial intelligence. You see, look. See? Don't say I don't do my research for you.
I hope AI has come a little bit further than putting a colander in your head.
Well, he seemed to get
I
away
can
with it.
inform you it hasn't.
Yes. Okay, next. Right, the next one. Right, okay, now we're going to get... Okay, so there's the movie section. Right, business. Right, back to loans. So, Brian, this is I'm expecting big things from you here. Okay, here's a good one. Right, the Federal Home Loan Mortgage Corporation, known as Freddie Mac, was created in 1970 in order to expand the secondary mortgage market in America. And for those who've never heard of Freddie Mac, here it is. There's Freddie Mac. Okay, you can see that. Yeah. Now, Moody's, what happened? Right, what happened on the 22nd of August, 2008?
They defaulted.
Yeah, you're close. He's close.
They shut down.
Well, there was no. That's not quite right. It's just before they shut down. No, okay. I'm going to tell you the answer because it's actually very interesting. Moody's changed the credit rating for Freddie Mac from A1 to Baa3 straight away. And that resulted in their investment grade, of course, going off the wall. And the government of America then bailed them out to the tune of, does anyone know? Hey, look, it's a wild card. I've got a wild card question coming. Do you know, has anyone got, and don't look it up, James. James, I'm watching your eyes.
I don't intend to.
James, watch my eyes, James. Watch my eyes, James. How much did they get bailed out for?
It's got to be in the trillions.
Yeah, agreed.
How much is a trillion? Is a trillion 1,000 million or 100? I don't know.
Trillions, 1,000 billion, isn't it?
1,000. Okay, actually, it wasn't that much. It was 100 billion. 100 billion. They got bailed out by the government for 100 billion pounds. Isn't that a lot? It's amazing, isn't it? Amazing. Right, next question. Come on, you're getting very excited here. I can see the buzz. Right, maps. We're on to the map theme now. This is your area, Paul. Right, here we go. Digital mapping is the process by which a collection of data is compiled and formatted into a virtual image. The primary function of this technology is to produce maps, Nimbus maps, that give accurate representations of a particular area, detailing major roads, etc., etc. What is digital mapping also known as?
GIS.
What?
Geo information systems.
Well, it may be. That's not. What's written down here?
Okay. I think some more.
I tell you what, I'm going to give you a point for that because it just sounded like a good answer, but I don't know if it's true or not.
That's all right.
Has anybody got any clue? Anyone? No? Anyone? No?
Cartography.
What'd you say?
Cartography.
Yes. Did you know that?
Google.
Yes.
Did you know that?
Looked it up.
No,
You promise you didn't look that up?
I promise I didn't look it
I'm
up.
going to give you 2 points. That was excellent. That's a really good answer. Very good. Right. Okay, James, it's your area now, James. Look, you better not screw this one up. No
We
cheating.
need to get back to parity.
No cheating. No cheating. Okay. Right. It's actually quite easy, but it's first on the fingers on the buzzer. Right.
So much pressure on this.
Which company is reported to have invested the most in artificial intelligence?
Google.
Yes.
Oh,
Google.
wow. Okay, fine.
Very good. That was Google. Very good, Paul.
Thought it would be the obvious answer, but
Well, actually, do you know how much they've invested? I hope all our viewers are finding this very interesting. I think it's very interesting. Do you know? Have you got any
500
idea?
million, something like that, something crazy.
What did you say?
500 million, something stupid like that. 200 million, more. Wow.
$1 billion.
1.
3.9 billion. And I can tell you that click to purchase AI auctions did not cost that. 3.9 billion. Do you know who's next?
Apple?
Amazon.
Amazon, probably.
Who said Amazon?
Me.
Amazon were next. They've actually invested, in comparison, only 870 million. Just shows you.
Pocket change.
Pocket change. All right. So who got that one? That was Paul, wasn't it? Okay. Right. Here we go. We're coming now to cars. So Bill.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, we've got a prediction from Rob Simmons. We'll come back to that in a moment, Rob. Right, Bill. This is your area. Okay. So how many people in the UK own a car according to the RAC? What percentage of households own a car?
76.
About 82.
Where did you get 76 from? Who said that?
Graham, his brain.
What did you say, Bill? 82?
Yeah.
It's actually 77.
Oh. I must get a point for that.
I'm going to give you a point for that.
Thanks.
Okay. All right. Here's Bill. You can redeem yourself. All right. What percentage of the population has access to a car?
95.
No, it'd be less than that, I would have thought.
Way out.
Yeah, probably about 85.
Any more guesses?
70.
79.
79?
Yeah.
Any more? Who hasn't guessed yet?
76.
Who hasn't guessed yet? Doug, have you guessed?
81.
81.
Oh, another point.
There we go.
81. Pull that one out of the bag. Right. Okay, so we've got one round to go, and I'll just give you the...
Was that the end of the car questions?
No, there's more. There's more to come.
Are there any Christmas questions?
No, I've done all that. Christmas. I'll put a song on for you in a minute if you want. Look, do you want some background?
Please.
Do you want some background music? All right, look, I'll tell you what. Put some background music on. How about this one? Here we go. Look. Here we go. Look. Anyway, but we'll cut that because I've still got questions to go. Right, property world. Right, this is the property world.
I'll get no chance.
Hold on, who's winning? Hold on. We've got. Okay. Bill's on 2, Paul's on 2, Graham's on 2. James is on -1 for cheating. Okay, so here we go. Property world. Right, and the first one is the debt question. Here's a good one. Again, you can shout out. What is the average debt per household in the UK?
16,000.
Pardon?
20,000.
Who said 16?
Graham.
That's wrong.
20,000.
Does this include mortgages, presumably?
Yes, get off your laptop.
Me?
Hands in the air. Can you put your hands in the air, please?
How am I going to Google it if I don't know if it's going to include mortgages?
Pardon?
How am I going to Google it if I don't know if it's going to include mortgages?
Anyway, including mortgages, it's actually quite worrying. What do you think?
Probably about 250 grand.
No, it's actually you're way out. Actually,
About
60,000.
Yeah, I'm going to give that to you, Brian. It's actually 58,000, which actually I think is really worrying. If you think about it, that's the average debt per household. And the other thing that I think is really worrying is overall in the UK, we owe 1.6 trillion, which works out to an average of £24,000 per person, including babies. If you think about it, £24,000. There's the average debt per person.
Have you checked the US numbers?
Well, what's it?
Imagine the US would be frightening.
Maybe.
Right, come on, this is a fun quiz.
It is fun.
Trump made a great statement the other day.
Pardon?
In fact, Trump made a great statement the other day talking about the national debt in the States and just said he didn't really care about it because he wasn't going to be around when it all came round.
Hey, told you.
Yes, that's a good view. Right. Okay. Here's a good one. Here's a very easy one. Fingers on buzzers. Maps. Paul, your specialty question again. Specialty subject. Do you want to double up and play your Joker?
I'd love to.
Right. This is good. What is the length of Oxford Street?
Ooh, can I Google it?
2 miles,
No.
1.5.
You've had your guess. I'll take miles or kilometres. I don't mind.
1.7 kilometres.
No.
0.8 miles.
No.
1.7 kilometers.
1.5
1.9.
Who said 1.9 what?
Me.
1.9 what?
Kilometers.
1.9.
Miles or kilometres?
Miles.
No.
1.9 kilometers.
Who said that? Who said 1.9 kilometres?
Me.
No, you've already had your guess. I think it was Brian, wasn't it? Was that Brian? Who said 1.9 kilometres? Hands up. Right, Brian. Brian's look. He's in commanding equal first. Right. So it's all down to the last question. All down to the last. Oh no, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not. I've got 2 questions to go.
Did that include New Oxford Street?
No.
Oh, that's why I was including it.
Yeah, so was I.
Yeah, so it's 1.9 miles.
They never said New York.
I've got. Look, I was going to say. Okay, I've actually got a trick question here. I'm actually not even going to ask it you, but there was a trick question. What is the most significant AI to enter the property market in 2018? But we all know the answer to that, don't we? We all know it was click to purchase. So we're not. I'm going to pass on that one because we've got 1, 2, 3. We've got 4 people on 2 points, and we're coming into the final question. And it's Bill, you've got the clear advantage because it's about cars.
Not from previous experience.
Okay, this is from the You've probably read this, Bill. You probably read this when you couldn't sleep one night. Department of Transport Road Traffic Forecast Report 2018. Road traffic levels are forecast to rise by between 17 and 51% by 2050. All right. How much are average journey times expected to increase?
50%.
90%.
Oh, you're doing a percentage. Hold on, I better get my calculator out. Wait a minute. You're saying percentages? All right.
70%.
42.
Any more guess? Who hasn't guessed?
30%.
30, right.
I'd say 30 minutes, just to be awkward. 20%.
I don't mind 30 minutes. So hold on. What's everyone said? Shout out again.
90%.
50.
70.
James?
30.
30 minutes.
30 minutes. Graham? Dale?
42%.
40 minutes.
Okay, actually, who said 30? Doug.
30 minutes.
That's Doug. Actually, you're all way out. 17%. It's going to go up. The average journey time is going to go up from 17 minutes to 20 minutes. So on that note, yeah, that's what it says. That's what it says. So on that note, I'm afraid we have no outright winner. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 5 people on 2 points, which just shows that our guests are all of equal intelligence. We have
Or equal stupidity.
We have Dale on 1 point, and we have James on -1 point. Never helps to cheat. Never helps to cheat. So that's it, guys. Right. So that's it. That's it. Look, 2:15, our longest hangout of the year. Anybody who wants CPD certificate, you can have it for free. You don't even have to answer a question. And hold on, Rob Simon. I predict that the European Parliament will become a nationalists' emporium after elections in 2019. The euro will fail. This will benefit the UK investment market. That's cheery. On that cheer, and I'm going to give an award. I have to give an award. Last year, you may remember that Vielle surprisingly won Agency of the Year at the of the Year, and it was. But this year, I'm going to give an award for the person who's watched more of our hangouts than anyone else. Jonathan Corran. Hello, Jonathan, who has watched, I think, every one because he's asked for a certificate every single time. So, well done, Jonathan. I'll tell you what, we'll give you a discount on any sale instruction you give us in 2019. So, guys, that's it. 2:15. I'm going to play us out. Should we play you out? There we go, look. So, guys, I think all that's left is we should all have a little wave goodbye to the...
Well done.
Well done. Thanks, Neil.
So, thanks very much, and I hope that was a bit of fun. And thank you very much for all your help throughout the year, everyone. All right?
Toodaloo.
Thanks, Neil.
Thanks,
Thanks a lot, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Right.